Hi, yeah, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here, and I wanted to just spend a couple minutes talking a little bit about why I created this event in the first place. So, in case you didn't know, I'm hosting this event. It's live here in February 2023. If you're watching sometime in the future, welcome. And it is an honor to have you all joining me here. The part that the why I created this event is for a number of reasons. The first is I wanted to give you, the people in my community, the people in the speakers in their communities, so all of you who are here joining, watching this or any of the other resources, I wanted to have different energies, different resources, different tools, different people, the actual people I've been working with to help me create something different. And part of that is my own journey the last few years took me to some really rough places, to some really rough realizations through health and other challenges, through having to pivot in the business to be more supportive to me, to go in the direction that really was speaking to me and calling me forward. And also in this time of transition and change and uncertainty, I needed something that was going to bolster me to this foundation. I needed a stronger foundation to build everything from. And I didn't have that. Or whatever I did have was crumbling or wasn't working. And I suspect for some of you, the transitions both globally and locally are probably impacting you in some way too. And forcing you to make some choices about what direction to take or how to reinforce pieces of your skill set, the foundation of your life, and maybe build new bridges with people and learn new resources, skills, ways of being, paradigms that support you going forward. And I can probably guess that we are all on the same page that we want to build a liberatory future that supports all of us. And that's not just in our work lives, but in all aspects of our lives. And I wanted to just explain a little bit about that, my journey. So some of I made a whole 12-minute video a while ago, and it got deleted, unfortunately. Well, it didn't get deleted. I deleted it because the audio wasn't working. So I'm going to do my best to capture the salient points that I mentioned in that video that didn't get captured properly. And I really was in a rough spot, as I mentioned, and I publicly don't necessarily share those bits as much, but it was health concerns, it was neurodivergent kind of thinking that was reemerging, that the strategies that I had worked on thus far in my life weren't working. It was understanding the foundations of my business were not supportive to me in any way and were not expansive. So it wasn't setting the stage for me to thrive. It's kind of like that feeling when you're in a pot. And I actually had this experience recently that I had this pot, a beautiful spider plant that a friend gave me. You know who you are if you're watching this. And that spider plant was beautiful, and I loved the spirit in which it was given. And one of its properties is it also cleans the air. And this person really had thought of that. That was one of the reasons they got this for me because the air quality in our last flat was a little not so great. So I thought, hey, this is a perfect present. And it was a little green pot that's adorable. And this spider plant over the years has grown and grown. And still, it was in that same pot. So recently, I took it out and repotted it into a bigger pot. And that's kind of what I think that setting the stage for thriving looks like. In that pot, the plant there was almost no soil left at this point. It was 100%, almost 100% pure root system. And it had filled up that little pot and it really needed to stretch its legs, so to speak, and needed more room. So I gave a much more generous sized pot, filled that with soil, and have been tending it. And the plant continues to be happy and thrive and grow. But in the same way, we might need to do the strategic work of repotting ourselves, putting ourselves into a bigger container, into a stronger foundation, in reinforcing relationships or things that really we want to take forward with us, and maybe setting boundaries and letting things go that aren't working. So just like that plant, we need to have a certain a certain set of things to really thrive in the world. And I really want you to ask yourself as you're going through this, what does thriving look like to me? Am I really burnt out? What is that looking like? What are those warning signs that I've been ignoring? Or maybe I've been conscious of them, but at some point that gauge is going to, if we ignore it long enough, then the whole mechanism, our whole body, and so on starts to rebel, starts to shut down. And we get to that point where we can't do another day, where we can't pretend anymore, where we can't literally take a metaphorical step forward in any way. We feel emotionally or otherwise in a place where we're stuck. And if that's where you are, I want to say I see you, because I was there for the last few years. And I can't say I'm out of it and that there was just this one light bulb moment and when I asked for some help and everything's better. That is not the journey that I went on. It was the cyclic effort of continuing to take stock, make choices, experiment, see what's going to happen, and deepen the commitments and relationships that I did want to see, and kind of detangle or trim off, you know, weed the things that weren't working, and giving myself the time, space, energy, and so on, the resources I needed to thrive. And sometimes that meant having hard conversations to say no to things. And sometimes that meant asking for help and being very vulnerable. And sometimes that meant letting certain things go and just saying, okay, I can't focus on all of these things. These are the priorities for this moment. And there's these other things, but I just don't have the space to look at them. And that being okay for the moment, right? So there's a lot of pieces, a lot of moments, a lot of conversations that happened. And I wanted to just note also that I had a lot of help. I wanted to give a little shout out that not only was it my space and my resilience to keep showing up and keep doing these things, but also I had help from my medical team. So I had some kind of spiritual and medical, right, holistic kind of treatments happening in the last few years, but I also had some medical things where I had doctors and someone to weed out to figure out what was happening. So that was a big piece. I also had friends and family, and I could name all of you. You know who you are, that you've been there through the thick and the thin, and especially my partner and my daughter. Those have been some of the most influential relationships and supportive relationships over the last few years. Also, the land, my ancestors, gods, the deities, the spirits, all of these beings that have had my well-being at heart, the animal spirits and the animal guides that have shown up, the plant medicine, all of these things from around me and around the world. Somebody even sent some plant medicines from the U.S. to help me. So these were so beneficial to my health. In fact, right now I have flowers in my office, and that is something that brings me a lot of joy. So even though those flowers and the plant life has been so supportive. And I also want to say that if you're stuck in the middle somewhere like I am, that it's going to get easier, that things will let up in time, but we don't know how, we don't know where. And what it might mean is continuing to wake up, put one step in front of the other, and not get like stay on those primary focuses for ourselves. Is what continue to get me through. And so that's why I put this event together. the first take was a lot more emotional, I think, than this one, but I hope that it is beneficial and supportive to you in your journey of setting your own stage to thrive and repotting yourself into a space where you can really thrive. And if you are in the job of holding space for other people to do this work in some way, there are some things to support you so you can continue to do that, because I have been on both ends of this and sometimes simultaneously holding space for myself, but also holding the space for other people's highest good. And in all of that, holding the space for the world to move into something that is anti-capitalist as well. All right. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope this has been helpful to you and there's been some prompts in here that are helpful. And I'll see you in the first live session on Monday. And once again, if you're getting any benefit of this, please share it with a friend or send us buy us a coffee. I say buy a flower for us over on buy me a coffee. Thanks so much.